Hello and welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 1st May 2025. In today's session, we will cover 7 important topics that are gaining national attention and are highly relevant for both your prelims and the mains examination, featured prominently in today's edition of The Hindu and the Indian Express newspapers. Our first topic is the Next Census, mechanism of census, its significance and the way forward. Then in our second topic, we'll try to see the types of hydrogen, related challenges and the issues related to the extraction and usages of natural hydrogen. After that, in our simplified section, we'll take up 5 articles and we will try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers which is going to be very crucial for your upcoming prelims 2025 examination. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. So let's start our discussion with the first topic, that is the next census. The context of this topic is that there was an announcement after the Union Cabinet meeting yesterday, and in that announcement it was said that caste census to be held along with the next national census itself. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 1, population and associated issues, and syllabus of your GS paper 2, government policies and interventions. So the caste census, as you would be aware of the fact that caste is the social hierarchy or grouping that is based on the birth of the person or the employment or the social status, and census is the exercise of official counting of the population of a particular country. And when in that exercise of the census, we are also enumerating the data related to the caste, that is called as the caste census. In one of our previous discussions, we have well covered the topic caste census. And the advocates of the caste census says that to actually fulfill this idea of the social justice, to provide welfare to the lower caste people who could not get the majority of the benefits of India's growth story, there is need to first count the numbers of different castes so that we can provide them proper welfare. For example, if there is a scheme by the Ministry of Social Justice with the name of Shreyas scheme, where the backward classes people are getting benefits for the higher studies. So when we will have the data related to the different castes, the caste who could not get proper benefits related to the higher education, then we will be able to give better benefits to these caste people, lower caste people. But the critics of the caste census says that if the caste census data will come, that can deepen the fault line in our society, that can lead to a diminishing in the social cohesion in the society. And we will mostly limit ourselves to the discussion on the census, that what is the legal mandate as well as what is the significance of the census in this particular discussion. So in 1872, the first non-synchronous census was conducted. What is the difference between the non-synchronous and the synchronous census? Generally, the non-synchronous census, it means that for all the area in any particular country, we are not conducting census simultaneously. For example, synchronous census which we are doing after 1881, that means for all the states or for all the provinces we are conducting census simultaneously. For example, as of now, the next census that will be conducted, that will be also a synchronous census. Census means for all the 28 states and 8 union territories, there will be a simultaneous exercise of census that will be done. Also, the first synchronous census that was conducted in 1881, at that point of time, the census commissioner was W.C. Plowden. And interestingly, the caste related information was also kept in this first synchronous census of 1881. However, that Mr. W.C. Plowden explicitly said that this exercise of enumeration of caste related information in this census is very confusing because there are too many castes in India and it becomes really difficult to get a conclusive data related to the caste or with the help of which we can actually provide the benefits because of the confusion that is surrounding around the different caste, different surnames that people are using. Also, the responsibility of conducting this election is with the Office of Census Commissioner of India, which is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. That is most important information. This can be one of the prelims question in the examination, that which of the following ministry has the mandate to conduct the census in India. Also, the legal or the constitutional basis of the census in India, as you would be aware of the fact that there are 3 lists that are provided under the 7th schedule of the Constitution: Union list, state list and the concurrent list. Under this Union list, entry number 69 is the census itself, and that is the reason the census is the complete domain of the central government or the union government. And to fulfill this idea of the census or to fulfill this mandate, the parliament has passed this Census Act 1948, which actually provides for overall architecture of the conduction of the census in India. Then what will be the features of the upcoming census that will be conducted? Since 2011, we could not conduct any other census. It was due to be conducted in 2021 or before 2021, the process should start. But as you would be aware of the fact that COVID-19 pandemic came in 2020, and that is the reason the union government said that it could not find it will find it very difficult to conduct the census. And since that, then there has been various structural issues which government reported, due to which they could not conduct the census. And we are in 2025 now, and the census will be, this particular census that will be conducted, that will be 16th in series and 8th after the independence. Because after independence it was in 1951 when the first census was conducted. Also, this will be one of the census which will be completely digital in nature. There will be use of mobile phones, apps, etc., with the help of which the enumeration or the entry will be filled. Also, there will be facility of self-enumeration for the first time. As you fill your different forms online, for example, UPSC prelims form that UPSC releases, you fill all the details by yourself itself, that name, occupation, address, everything. Similarly, there will be facility of self-enumeration with the help of a portal where you can feed all your details related to yourself, your family, your occupation without the help of any other enumerator itself. Generally, initially or in the earlier time, what was happening, there were different surveyors or the enumerators that were coming at our homes and who were noting down all the information, and then they were feeding those information. But here in this case, there will be self-enumeration facility, that without even the help of the enumerators, we can also fill our detail on our own. Then also there is this National Population Register that we talk about. What exactly is this NPR exercise, which will be also conducted with the census? So here in this NPR, we actually count, or we actually have this data of all the usual residents of the country, where it will be the citizens as well as the foreign people. It will not, the NPR will not only conduct the data of the citizens, but the people who are foreign also, who are living in India, will have the data or will be counted under the National Population Register. And it is mandatory for every usual resident of India to register in the NPR. Also, the citizenship, registration of citizens and issue of national identity card rules 2003 says that a usual resident is a person who has resided in a local area for the past 6 months or more, or a person who intends to reside in that area for next 6 months or more will be considered under the part of the NPR or National Population Register. Also, it includes both Indian citizen as well as the foreign citizen, as we have seen. What is the objective of this NPR? To create a comprehensive identity database of every usual resident in the country, to actually identify who are the people who are living in India. Also, the first NPR was conducted in 2010, and the updation was done in 2015 by conducting door-to-door survey. And the next NPR will be conducted along with the Census 2021 itself. And NPR is conducted by the Office of the Registrar General of India, which is also under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So what is the significance of this particular census? That why actually we are counting the people? First of all, it gives us an idea about the population statistics. For example, as per 2011 census, we have 1.21 billion population. And with this data, we are also able to do the socio-economic analysis. For example, we get an idea about the number of male members, number of female members, number of children. So accordingly, we can come up with the policies which can actually give them proper welfare. For example, if we have the data that we have a huge working age population from 15 to 59 years or 15 to 64 years. So we can come up with the policies for their employment. We can come up with the policies for the skilling of these persons so that their employability can be increased. As well as it also helps in proper public health spending or proper public health planning. For example, data related to the fertility rate, data related to infant mortality rate or the maternal mortality rate. When that data is released by the census, government can plan the health spending accordingly. That whether they have to spend on the family planning, whether they have to spend on the curative care, palliative care or rehabilitative care, whether they have to focus on the primary health centers or the community health centers or the tertiary hospitals hospitals they have to build, based on the demography, based on the data related to the population, as well as various other indicators which are coming with the data of the census. Also, it helps in proper resource allocation. For example, when we know that the demographic winter is increasing, when we know that the aging population or the aged population is increasing in India, so there is need for more support that should be given to them, and accordingly we will allocate more resources to them. For example, when we know that there is a significant amount of population which is disabled in India, and that is also the data that is coming with the help of census, so we launched the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. Similarly, we can come up with other policies so that their life can be eased and there can be an accessible India that we can provide to them. So similarly, the census gives us an idea about the labor market trends, that what is the population or what is the particular group of people who are participating in agriculture sector, manufacturing sector or the services sector. Accordingly, we can provide them proper support. For example, the disguised unemployment, or the people, when we know that in agriculture we have the disguised unemployment and there is too much of population that is dependent on the agriculture. That data we are getting from the census. So accordingly, we can come with such schemes which can provide welfare. For example, the schemes related to the self-employment, schemes related to the food processing industry, that people who are dependent on the agriculture, they can go for some of the avenues of the self-employment so that their income can increase. Also, the Finance Commission, for example, recently 16th Finance Commission was formed under Mr. Arvind Pangadia. Now, what is the mandate of the Finance Commission? They actually tells the devolution of the funds. What is the mechanism? How much funds should be devolved to different states? The grants in aid are also recommended. So one of the factors that the Finance Commission consider to actually recommend the devolution of the funds to the states is the population itself. So population actually is helping in properly allocating the resources among the states and also between the center and the states. Also, the policy formulation, for example, that census data helps in planning for the development. Or, for example, National Population Policy 2000 came, which actually ensured that the TFR rate should be reduced so that the proper support, the proper socio-economic welfare can be done for the people. Also, the electoral representation, that is also one of the important factors that is decided by the census, because the exercise of the delimitation which is done, that is based on the census itself. And what is the delimitation? That is the exercise where we fix the number of seats or redraw the boundaries of the different constituencies in any particular state or whole country. And that is being done with the help of the data that is coming from the census itself. For example, that how many seats will be allocated to particular state, that is based on the data of the census itself. So with the data of the census, the number of seats might increase or decrease. So the representation of states might increase or decrease in the Lok Sabha. And that is also one of the reasons that census is very significant for our democracy also. Then the cultural insights that we get, the diversity of India, the different languages, the cultural practices that people follow. For example, 121 languages are spoken across India as per the data of the census 2011. So we also get an idea about the rich heritage, rich culture of India, the diversity of India, and based on that we can also come up with proper support program so that we can preserve these cultural heritage and diversity. But what should be the way forward? What should be done? First of all, we need to enhance the data protection. And before this enhancing of the data protection, there is need for improved training for the enumerators so that there is less confusion related to the data that is coming. And for this, there is a fixed number of questionnaire that will be prepared and that will be given. So there is need for proper training that should be given to these enumerators so that the data that is coming, that is more useful. There is less confusion related to data. Apart from that, there is need for more technological integration for the analysis of that data so that we can come up with the better policies of the data that we have got from the population. Also, there is need for enhancing the data protection, that whatever the personal data that people are sharing, there is need for proper protection of that data so that the privacy of the people, which is also guaranteed under the fundamental rights, is not undermined. Also, there is need for increased census availability in all regional languages. For example, the questionnaires that enumerator are asking, if that will be available in the local languages also, then people will be they will find it much easier to give answers to those questions which are being asked by the enumerators. And the data that is being released by the government, when it will be available in all the regional languages or most of the regional language, people will find it easier to read that data, and based on that also they will be a well-informed and aware citizen. Also, the awareness that there is need for increased public participation, that people should participate in this exercise of census. We need to communicate them the importance of census, and more than that, there is need for this awareness that proper true information should be given in the census rather than the false information which should be fed. Also, census should be conducted without delay. We are already more than 4 years, we are already with a delay of more than 4 years. So there is need for a proper communication, there is need for proper capacity building of people who are involved in this exercise of the census, so that census can be conducted without delay, so that the data that is coming from the census, we can have a proper policy that can actually help in achieving our goal of developed country by 2047. And this is a particular mains question that you people can write from this particular topic. Our next topic is natural hydrogen the fuel for the future? The context of this topic is that a write-up has appeared emphasizing on the various aspects of natural hydrogen, and this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 3, conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, as well as growth and development. So what is this hydrogen? The symbol is H, its atomic number is 1 and its atomic mass is 1.008 AMU. Also, it is the element number 1. This is the simplest element on the earth. And abundancy, if you talk about of the hydrogen, 75% of mass in the universe consists of hydrogen itself. And the detectability of the hydrogen, it is invisible, odorless, as well as it is tasteless. And if you talk about the volumetric energy density of the hydrogen, what is this volumetric energy density? That is how much energy hydrogen can store in a given space. For example, let's suppose there is a car that is being fueled by the hydrogen itself. What is the size of the tank that we actually require to ensure that that particular car can run for 100 km or 200 km? That is the volumetric energy density. And hydrogen have low volumetric density, means that it requires advanced storage methods. For example, that we need to have a huge tank to store enough for a particular car itself if we want to run it for 100 kilometers or 200 kilometers. And it is energy carrier, means it stores energy first that are created elsewhere. For example, that are created with the help of solar energy, oil, etc. So energy carrier can be defined as a substance or system that moves energy from one place to another, like a battery or fuel, and it doesn't make energy by itself, rather it just delivers it. For example, hydrogen is not an energy source like oil or the sunlight. Instead, it is like a bucket, or it is like a delivery executive which is delivering the food from the restaurant to your home itself. That delivery executive is not making food at home itself, rather it has just picked up from the restaurant and it has delivered to your home itself. So similar cases with the hydrogen itself. It is an energy carrier. It is not making energy, rather it is just transferring it. So how much energy the particular hydrogen holds per kilogram, that will actually determine the gravimetric energy density. And hydrogen have the highest energy per mass of any fuel itself, and that is the reason hydrogen have, because of this high gravimetric energy density, it makes it great, or it makes it suitable for the rockets, planes, where the weight matters. Because when we are sending any rocket or any satellite, then if the weight will be very high, then it will require much thrust, and that will further lead to more use or more spending of the particular fuel which was being used for sending that particular rocket or the plane. So because of the light weight that hydrogen have, it ensures that it is highly useful for the planes and the rockets, because their weight matters. So what we can say, that while hydrogen is light, its low volumetric density means we need big tanks is the trade off, or which is one of the issues. Also, it rarely exists in its free state or in the natural state, and the weight of the hydrogen, it is 14 times lighter than the air itself. And hydrogen is the fuel of the tomorrow. Why? Because it will help us in achieving our decarbonized economy, the economy where we have less carbon emission. For example, as of now, the fossil fuel that we are using, whether that is the diesel, petrol or the coal, that leads to high carbon emissions, and which is is further leading to overall global increase in temperature or the global warming, and which is creating various issues. For example, global sea rise, or the climate change related issues that we are witnessing, or the melting of the glaciers that we are witnessing, and that is also creating geopolitical tensions. For example, Greenland is melting, and which is creating geopolitical tension in that area, especially the Arctic Circle countries, that is Russia, USA, Greenland, etc. There are various issues. Why? Because the reason that is coming out of that melting ice is very rich in various resources, like rare earth elements are there, some of the crude oil, as well as other specific elements which can be very good for the future energy sources. They are coming out of that particular area. So it is also creating geopolitical tensions. So we need to achieve this decarbonized economy, which will actually help in a proper sustainable development. Also, this fuel, hydrogen, will help in mitigation of the global warming because of its low carbonizing potential. Also, there are different colors of the hydrogen that is based on the methods that we utilize or that we use for the hydrogen production. For example, one of the method is the green hydrogen, which is generally more popular. That is the hydrogen which is produced by the electrolysis of the water using the electricity from the renewable sources like wind or the solar, and zero CO2 or the carbon dioxide is emitted from this particular process of the green hydrogen. Electrolysis can be defined as the process where we uses the electric current to drive a non-spontaneous chemical reaction, often to separate the elements from the compounds to produce a new substances. And then we have the blue hydrogen, where hydrogen is produced from the fossil fuels, that is gray, black or the brown hydrogen, and where CO2 is captured and either stored or the repurposed. That carbon storage is being followed in this case of the blue hydrogen. Then we have the gray hydrogen, where the hydrogen is extracted from the natural gas using the steam methane reforming, and this is the most common form of hydrogen production in the world today. Although this is not sustainable 100%, because this is also releasing some of the CO2, etc. Then we have the purple or the pink hydrogen, which is produced by electrolysis using the nuclear power. And then we have the turquoise hydrogen, which is the hydrogen which is produced by thermal splitting of the methane. As the name is suggesting, the thermal splitting of the methane. What is the formula of the methane? That is CH4. And thermal means we are providing heat. Splitting means we are splitting the CH4. So when we are providing heat with the help of impact of the heat, when CH4 is splitting, it is leading to production of the hydrogen. And instead of CO2, solid carbon is being produced when we are splitting this particular CH4. Also, then we have the brown or the black hydrogen, which is the hydrogen which is extracted from the coal using the gasification process. Then we have the yellow hydrogen, which is the hydrogen which is produced by the electricity using the grid electricity from various sources like renewable and fossil fuels. Then white hydrogen, which is produced as a byproduct of industrial processes, also refers to hydrogen occurring in its rare neutral form. And this particular discussion will be actually focused on this rare form of the natural hydrogen itself, that without even going to this process, how we can store or how we can found the hydrogen as we get the crude oil from the extraction, as we get coal, can we similarly get the natural hydrogen also in different forms in our earth crust, and how can we extract that properly, sustainably, in a time bound manner, so that we can utilize that well, although we should not go with this hectic process as of now which we have to go through. Now, for this green hydrogen itself, there was an initiative which was launched by the government, and that is India's Green Hydrogen Mission. And this National Hydrogen Mission is to make India a global hub for the production and the export of the green hydrogen itself. And India is going to spend over rupees 12 million annually for its energy requirements. And if we will shift to this green hydrogen, it will help in our import availability or import dependency will be reduced, because as of now, one of the highest component of our imports is the crude oil, where we are doing our one of the highest spending. So if we will shift to the hydrogen, then this import dependency will reduce. Also, the green hydrogen production to help replace the energy imports that we are talking about. It will provide also various opportunities. For example, renewable energy potential. We will be also able to achieve our target of net zero emissions. Also, it will lead to job creation with the skilled workforce that we will have. But again, the upskilling and the constant skilling needs to be done to the workforce. It will also provide export market, the green steel, ammonia, which is formed by the Haber's process, sustainable aviation fuel, because in all these industries, hydrogen is one of the important component that is used. And and when we will be producing hydrogen, obviously these industries will also have a greater push. Then the energy security, which is where the reduced dependence on the imported fossil fuels. Competitiveness will also increase with the because we will be maintaining market access with a low carbon footprint. But it will also have high challenges. For example, high production cost, the cost of electrolyzers, and the dependency on the imports for the key components that are used in the electrolysis process. For example, we are dependent on some of the electrolyzers which are being imported from the China. Also, investment risk because of the potential for the stranded assets, or the gestation period might be high, and the particular income or the particular investment that people are doing, that might not yield good result in future. So there is investment risk also related to that. So these are some of the challenges which are associated with the current mode of the hydrogen production which we are following. For example, there are pollution from the conventional methods like the gray methods or the brown or black method that we are using. There are some of the pollutants that are emanating or that are emitting from these methods. Then the natural gas via the steam method reforming, that is the energy intensive as well as the high polluting, that the energy that it requires to actually fulfill this idea of the production of the hydrogen, that is very high. So that is leading to a lot of energy expenditure. More than that, when we talk about the green hydrogen, it is clean but costly. It requires vast solar and wind infrastructure to actually scale it down, because if we want to produce this green hydrogen to a large scale, we will need a constant supply of the solar energy, and which will again lead to financial constraints, which will need a huge investment size. Also, this steam methane reforming process which we were talking about, which is generally used in some of the kind of this particular methods. So here in this particular method, what we are actually doing, we are first doing the desulfurization, where we are removing sulfur from the natural gas so it doesn't damage the catalyst that we will be using. Then we'll go with the steam reforming, where we will be mixing the methane with the steam at a high heat to break it into hydrogen plus carbon monoxide. And then there will be water gas shift, where we will convert this carbon monoxide into extra hydrogen, that is the H+. And then CO2 removal will have, that we will filter out the CO2 to get the pure hydrogen from this process itself. All these technical details are not that important, because I don't think UPSC will ask question on these technical details. You just need to understand the basic methods which are utilized in different kind of production of the hydrogen. Now, how natural hydrogen actually is being formed. So the hydrogen occurs as a free gas in the geological formation. For example, it is generated through various processes like serpentization. For example, interaction between the water and the iron rich rocks. For example, here what is happening, that the water will seep into iron rich rocks like olivine in earth crust, and there a reaction will occur which will turn the rock into serpentine, which is a green mineral, and the byproduct of this process, where the water was seeping into the iron rich rocks, will be the hydrogen gas plus heat. So this hydrogen gas will be trapped in this crust, and that we can extract at a later part. So that is the process of the serpentization. Then the radiolysis of the water. What is this radiolysis? When the radioactive mineral split the water molecules underground, and which again release the hydrogen gas over time. So for example, the radioactive elements like uranium or thorium, they are emitting radiation, and this energy breaks apart water that is present around that radioactive element, and that will convert, or that will split into, or that will break the water into H2 plus oxygen, and from there also we can get the H2. So this hydrogen which is accumulated in the cracks or the reservoirs or in the underground, that can be one of the source for the natural hydrogen. Then the decomposition of the organic matter that will happen at depth, that will also provide us the sufficient amount of hydrogen that will be trapped in different cracks under the earth crust. There are different history of the natural hydrogen discovery. For example, in the Mali, also there was drilling which was happening, and at that point of time, there was one of the person who brought out his cigarette, and then when he lighted, or when he started smoking, then there was a flame which ignited at that particular place. So that is the interesting story related to this drilling in the Mali, which led to an accidental discovery of the natural hydrogen that will be trapped under the underground. And scientific confirmation happened in year 2012, which said that the 98% of the hydrogen gas can be found or was visible in this Mali region. Also, if you talk about the current global reserve and the exploration, Australia have at Eyre Peninsula, Kangaroo Island, United States, France and space, Albania, Colombia, South Korea, Canada have some of the resources. Then India's hydrogen potential, if we talk about, there are some of the favorable geological conditions that India have, and that can actually give us an idea about the good reserves that we can have about the natural hydrogen. For example, the hard rock formations like ultramafic basaltic, that is the iron rich rock like periodotite, which react with water to produce hydrogen via the process of serpentization that we have seen. So these Deccan traps, which have the India's volcanic rocks, can have good geological conditions for the reserves of the natural hydrogen. Then ophiolite complexes, that is visible in Andaman and Himalayas. For example, these ophiolite can be defined as ancient sea floor rocks which are pushed onto land and which is ideal for serpentization, that water will seep into this iron rich rocks that can also produce the hydrogen. Then the sedimentary basins that are visible in Vindhyan, Kudapa or the Gondwana land, there can be decomposition of organic matter that may have happened at these sedimentary basins, and that can be also possible sources for the natural hydrogen. Then the hydrothermal systems, that is the heated water that circulates through cracks, they can also release the hydrogen. So hot springs, fracture zones, they can have a good source of the natural hydrogen. For example, Ladakh's Puga hot spring can be one of the good source of that. And moving towards the challenges and the future outlooks of the natural hydrogen. First of all, there are economic and logistical barriers that are related to this natural hydrogen, because we do not have a fixed source, or that is not limited in a particular point or particular area itself. Rather, it is scattered. So when there are scattered deposits, it is not economically unviable to actually dig into this. So that is the reason we need, for a way forward, we need proper technological advancements to actually go for the viable mining of this particular, or viable utilization of this hydrogen which is scattered across different areas. Also, the cost of fuel, that when extraction will be very costlier, then that will add to the cost of the fuel. So the people will not find it affordable, and the particular thing that we have, or the objective that we had in mind, that we will shift towards the hydrogen, that will not be possible. Then the lack of dedicated exploration framework. For example, there are with the traditional hydrocarbons, we have the sufficient technologies, traditional framework, or the frameworks, explicit framework that we can follow, and with the help of that we can explore. But here we do not have clear framework with the help of which we can actually get this hydrogen. So we need to develop a proper framework also for the natural hydrogen. Also, lack of investment and research because of the new technology that it is, and the various concerns and the apprehensions that investors have. There is less investment in this particular sector, less research. So that is also one of the area where we have to work. So measure, or the solution is that we need to improve the investment and research across this challenge. And the sustainable exploitation, that is also one of the major concerns, that when we know that in some of the areas of the cracks, or it can be present in some of the areas where the volcanic eruptions has happened. So what is the technology that can be used with the help of which we can go for the sustainable exploration, as well as we can dig out the hydrogen in a sustainable manner. So that is the technology that we need to develop, that the exploration as well as the particular extraction of the hydrogen that we are doing, that should be done sustainably, keeping in mind the environmental concerns as well as the concerns of the future generation. This is a particular question that you people can write from this topic. Moving towards our simplified section, the first topic is India's shame, the trap of bonded labor. As you would be aware of the fact that today is 1st May and today is International Labour Day, and this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, issues related to vulnerable sections, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu page number 6. So as you would be aware of the fact that under part 3 of the Constitution, the fundamental rights are provided, and Article 23, which says that which prohibits the traffic in human beings, including the trafficking for the purpose of forced labor, slavery, or the exploitation of the persons, which is the right against the exploitation. And then there is Article 24, which talks about the exploitation of the children, which prohibits the exploitation of the children. Now, bonded labor is one such issue which has been highlighted in this particular editorial, and the writer says that bonded labor emerges from a web of interconnected factors. For example, immediate triggers such as medical emergencies, religious ceremonies, dowries, food shortages, or the sudden loss of job or a breadwinner that may force an impoverished worker to seek a loan or advance from an employer or the labor agent. For example, the people who are coming from the rural background, or you would have seen in various reports that are highlighted in various newspapers, that still, as you would be aware of the fact that the poverty is very high in India, and there are still people who go for lavish weddings. The dowry is still prevalent. So for completion of that marriage, people take loan, and then they find it very difficult to repay that loan, and they have taken this loan from some non-institutional lenders, some informal lenders, where the interest rate will be very high. When that person will find it very difficult to actually give back or pay back that loan, in that case, that person might be compelled to work at the place of the person who have extended the loan without even any payment. So that is an example of the bonded labor. So with the various contingency that may arise, for example, floods, for example, disasters, or any of the issues like COVID-19 which happened, where the people will lose their jobs, then that may be a case where people might be subjected to the bonded labor because they do not have anything to eat, because they do not have anything to fulfill their basic necessities. So it is the widespread illiteracy, lack of access of information, employer monopolies over the local financial and labor markets, and the dominance of the social elites. That can be one of the factors why the bonded labor is still prevalent. And these elements transform a simple economic transaction between lender and borrower into a mechanism of social control and the exploitation. That people who has extended the loan, or the person who was the employer, will be the sole person who will be determining the work of the person as well as the life of the person and various other social factors related to that person, that whether he can go outside or not, whether he can visit his or her home or not, all will be decided by the employer itself, because in a way de facto he is the bonded labor of that person, because he has taken loan, or his bargaining capacity is not that good as compared to other persons. Also, India has abolished bonded labor in 1975, and in 2016, the then Union Labour Minister Bandaru Dattatreya informed the Parliament about the government's plan to release and rehabilitate 1.84 crore bonded laborers across the country as a part of 15-year vision extending until 2030. But unfortunately, we were able to rescue and rehabilitate only 12,760 bonded labor between 2016 and 2021. And Mr. Bandaru Dattatreya is also the current governor of Haryana. Also, in addition to bonded labor, there are crores of unorganized Indian workers, particularly migrants, who are endured in forced labor and which closely resembles to the bonded labor. Because if the persons who are in the unorganized sector, who do not have the proper wages or the meager wages are being provided to them, who do not have the proper working conditions, who do not have the proper social security benefits, there is no insurance, even if the accidental deaths of the persons are happening while working itself, even then there is no provision of providing any support to the family, even if the person was the sole breadwinner of the family. So that is also resembles to the case of the bonded labor, that at that particular place the employee is not working with his or her complete senses or with his or her complete will, rather he is compelled to work there. Okay, so according to this National Sample Survey Organization of India report, country's total employment across organized and unorganized sector was approximately 47 crore. Of this, only 8 crore workers were in organized sector, while the remaining 39 crore were in unorganized sector. So almost 90% of our workforce is in unorganized sector itself. And ILO's India Employment Report 24 also states that low quality jobs in informal sector and informal employment are the dominant form of work in India, and that is the reason these people might be susceptible, these people are prone to be exploited more. And unorganized workers predominantly who are migrants in India, and majorly there has been various push factors that led to that migration. For example, there was lack of employment at that place where the person belongs to. There is lack of proper resources at that place, and that is the reason that person came to any of the urban areas like Delhi, Mumbai, where they can get some jobs. And this deprives they do not have that in unionization. That deprive them of collective bargaining power, and without unionization unorganized workers face exploitative conditions, lack formal contracts, and that also risk arbitrary dismissal that those persons can be subjected to. Also, the writer has interviewed various hundred of workers, mostly migrants, who were forced from their villages by climate change, crippling poverty, and lack of job opportunities at that place, and that lay a bare of system which is rigged against them. These workers lack stable wages, facing meager pay, precarious conditions, and the constant threat of dismissal. And this exploitation, a deliberate assault on their dignity, is perpetuated by the system prioritizing profit over people, ignoring the modern day slavery. That even if these people are reporting to the police authority, there is lack of proper action, bureaucratic apathy is there. More than that, there is this particular mechanism that can be followed, that is counter magnetic city. That can be one of the way forward that you can write in the urbanization, that you can write in the migration. For example, if let's suppose this is Delhi. Now all the person or most of the person belonging to Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, when they are coming to Delhi, why? Because Delhi have good infrastructure, because Delhi have good availability of the jobs. But what if we develop Lucknow? What if we develop Patna? Or what if we develop Meerut? Or what if we develop other smaller cities like in Haryana? Which can have good infrastructure, which can have better resources, which can have good electricity supply, so that instead of limiting all the industry or all the industries limiting themselves to Delhi itself, they will move towards this Meerut, they will move to Lucknow, they will move to Patna, where the cost of infrastructure building will be less, where the cost of electricity will be less, where cost of land will be less. But if there will be lack of proper law and order situation, if the law and order situation will not be good, then obviously industries will not be find it good to go there or to move there. That is the reason to develop these counter magnetic cities like Meerut, Gwalior, Patna, etc. We need proper law and order, we need proper infrastructure support, we need, for example, land banks can be developed, which can provide proper lands to the companies, and that can actually deburden these big cities like Delhi and Mumbai. There are some labor code also which actually talks about the various safeties and which actually helps in preventing the exploitation of the people. For example, in 1924 labor codes were formed by the government, subsuming all the earlier labor laws. For example, Social Security Code was there, which subsumed 9 labor acts which provided social security schemes like Employees Provident Funds, Employees State Insurance, and Employees Pension Scheme. Then there is Wage Code, which code on wages subsumed 4 labor laws. Code ensures uniform applicability of provisions, timely payment of wages, as well as minimum wages for all the employees. Then Industrial Relation Code, which amalgamates 13 labor laws, and it requires the employers to make sure the workspace is free from hazards that can cause injury or occupational hazard to employees, provide free health checkup free of cost to certain classes of employees. Then Occupational Safety and Hazards Code, that covers 3 main laws related to settlements of labor disputes. These laws mainly include the Industrial Disputes Act, Trade Union Acts, and the Industrial Employment Standing Order Act. So occupational safety and health, this is the occupational safety and health code, that is our 4th code. And these labor code will benefit the workers significantly, that there will be universalization of rights, there will be statutory concept of national floor wage that will be introduced so that minimum wage can be introduced. There will be an appointment letter that will be given to all the workers. There will be proper working condition that needs to be maintained for all the workers, as well as the social welfare measures will be provided. Social security benefits will be extended to the people under this labor codes. Our next topic is that Supreme Court said that digital access is a part of fundamental right to life and liberty, which is provided under Article 21 of the Constitution under Part 3 of the Constitution. Article 21 says that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure which is established by the law. And this observation was given by a bench of justices J.B. Padiwala and R. Mahadevan, who were hearing a petition on how people with disability find it very difficult to complete their KYC process or know your customer process, which is required in banks, etc. And under this KYC process, the particular customer needs to furnish his biometric details or iris scan, etc. And the disabled people find it difficult to furnish all this information. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, fundamental rights, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 1. So the inclusive and the meaningful digital access to e-governance and welfare delivery systems is part of fundamental rights to life and liberty. Supreme Court in a judgment on Wednesday said that, and it was by this bench of Justice J.B. Padiwala and R. Mahadevan. Also, the bench says that the right to digital access emerges as an intrinsic component of right to life and liberty, necessitating the state to proactively design and implement inclusive digital ecosystem which can honor, which can be respectful even to the people who are disabled. And this will serve not only the privileged but also to the marginalized. This was said by the Justice Mahadevan, who authored the judgment. Also, there has been various judgments by the Supreme Court, under which Supreme Court has highlighted various other fundamental rights which are provided under Article 21. For example, right to life, which includes the right to live with dignity free from exploitation. Then right to personal liberty, which is protected against the unlawful detention, also under Article 2021. And right to privacy, which was highlighted in the case Puttaswamy versus Union of India case in year 2017. And this right to privacy is recognized as part of right to life and liberty under Article 21. Then right to health has been again highlighted a part of Article 21. In this case of Paschim Banga Khet Mazdoor Samiti versus State of West Bengal, a case of 1996, that access to medical care is one of the fundamental right under Article 21. Then right to education, free and compulsory education for children via Article 21A. Right to shelter, this is basic necessity for dignified living, that has been highlighted by UP Awas Evam Vikas Parisad versus Friends Cooperative Housing Society. This was judgment in 1995. Then in MC Mehta versus Union of India case, very famous case in 1987 that came, that pollution free environment, that is right to clean environment, is again a fundamental right under Article 21. Right to free trial, that includes the speedy trial and legal aid, Husainara Khatun versus State of Bihar 1979 case. Right against torture and custodial violence, that is prohibition of inhumane treatment, which has been highlighted in DK Vasu versus State of West Bengal 1997. Then right to die with dignity, that is the passive euthanasia, that was allowed under the strict guidelines under the Common Cause versus Union of India case 2018. Right to livelihood, that is part of right to life, Olga Telis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation 1995. Right to reputation protected, which provides protection against the defamation, Subramaniam Swamy versus Union of India case 2016. All these rights were observed to be part of Article 21 in various judgments of the Supreme Court. Right to marry and choose partner, that was recognized in Lata Singh versus State of UP 2006 case. Right to travel abroad, which was upheld in Menaka Gandhi versus Union of India case 1978. Then right to information, that is derived from freedom of speech as well as freedom of speech, which is provided under Article 19, and right to life under Article 21 in the case PUCL versus Union of India case of 2003. Also, you can see that there are two prelims questions that are related to this topic. One was asked in 2019, that which article of the Constitution of India safeguards one's right to marry the persons of one choice. Also, at that point of time, there was a Supreme Court judgment related to Hadia case, who was a girl from Kerala. So you people tell me in the comment box that what will be the answer of this PYQ of 2019. And similarly, this question that was asked on the backdrop of KS Puttaswamy judgment, that right to privacy is protected under which article of the Constitution of India. Our next topic is National Security Advisory Board, and this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 3, internal security, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 10. So the context is that government has reorganized the National Security Advisory Board with the Alok Joshi, who is the former Chief of Research and Analysis Wing, being appointed as the chairman of this National Security Advisory Board, and 7 new members were inducted, and these members belong to different domains. For example, some people are IPS, some belong to Indian Foreign Service, service, as well as some army personals, as well as Air Force personals are they have been appointed as the new members of this National Security Advisory Board. And this move was undertaken in past few days amid the ongoing tensions with the Pakistan following the Pahalgam terror attack on April 2022. So what is this primary role of this National Security Advisory Board? That they provide long-term analysis on national security issues. They have also the advisory function that they offers strategic perspective to the National Security Council, and this National Security Council was established in year 1998 by PM Atal Bihari Vajpayee after the India-Pakistan nuclear test. And the role of this National Security Council is that it is the apex body for the national security management in India. The head of this National Security Council is the Prime Minister, and the National Security Advisor is the secretary to this National Security Council. Also, this National Security Advisory Board provides recommendation. For example, it suggests measures, solutions, and the policy options for various national security threats as well as issues. The scope of this National Security Advisory Board is that it addresses issues which are referred to it by the National Security Council. Our next topic is cabinet committees. Yesterday was a day where different cabinet committees met. For example, Cabinet Committee on Security met, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs met, which recommended or which announced the fair and remunerative prices for the sugarcane. Also, the Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs, which is also called as the Super Cabinet, also met, which led to announcement of caste census being included in the national census exercise itself. So this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2 executive, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 9. So this fair and remunerative price or the FRP is recommended by the CSAP and finally announced by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, which is headed by the Prime Minister of India. And this fair and remunerative price is based on the Rangarajan Committee's recommendation or regarding the sugarcane industries, that how we can reorganize the sugarcane industries. Also, apart from this FRP, there is a state advised price which can be announced by the specific state government where the sugarcane production is very high, and this state advised price is generally above and over the fair and remunerative price. Also, it was announced, as we have discussed, by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. So what exactly is this Cabinet Committee? These Cabinet Committees are not mentioned in the Constitution. However, the rule of business provides for their establishment. And executive in India works under the Government of India Transaction of Business Rules 1961. Also, you can relate it with Article 77, subclause 3, which says that the President shall make the rules for more convenient transactions of the businesses of the Government of India and for allocation among ministers of the said businesses, because these cabinet committees actually helps in faster decision making processes, and these are extra constitutional and not mentioned in Constitution. There are two types: standing, they are permanent in nature, and ad hoc, that are temporary and that are generally formed to look into special problems, and they are set up by the Prime Minister as needed. Their number, nomenclature, composition may vary. There is no fixed number or the nomenclature. Also, they sort out issues, formulate proposals and make decision which cabinet can review, because whole cabinet, union cabinet is a particular body which have multiple people, huge number are there, so it might take lot of time to actually pass any particular decision in the whole cabinet, and that is the reason that particular decision is taken by different cabinet committees and then they are put before the union cabinet. As these committees reduce the cabinet workload, facilitate in-depth policy examination and ensures the effective coordination based on the division of labor and the delegation principles. As of now, there are 8 cabinet committees: Appointments Committee of the Cabinet, Cabinet Committee on Accommodation, on Economic Affairs, Parliamentary Affairs, Political Affairs, Security, Investment and Growth, Employment and Skill Development. So this Cabinet Committee on Accommodation as of now is chaired by Home Minister, and Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs is chaired by the Defence Minister. Rest all cabinet committees are chaired by the Prime Minister itself, and it have typically 3 to 8 members, mainly the Cabinet Minister, non-Cabinet Minister and senior ministers not in charge of discussed subjects may also be included, means special invitees can take part in that Cabinet Committee meeting. Also, Prime Minister usually chairs the committee, but sometimes the Home, Finance or Defence Minister can also do so. If the Prime Minister is the member of any cabinet committee, then obviously he will head the committee. Also, All committee except the accommodation and the parliamentary affairs are headed by the Prime Minister, and Home Minister heads the Cabinet Committee on Accommodation, Defence Minister heads the Cabinet Committee on the Parliamentary Affairs. Moving towards our next topic, that is Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, which is related to your GS paper 2 statutory bodies, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 11. And the context is that people will now be able to complain about any misleading claims made by the food products directly to the country's effect food safety regulator. The FSSI has created a link on its website on the section on its app allowing people to file complaints. To register a complaint against misleading claims, one just needs to upload the photograph of the front of the pack and the back label that shows the composition and the nutritional information of the food. Complainant will also have to mention the name of the brand, name of the product, the license or the registration number usually displayed on the pack along with an FSSI logo, and the misleading claim made. Complainants are also asked whether the product is available online. All the complaints are sent to the appropriate licensing authority, the state licensing authority, if manufacturer holds a state license, or the central licensing officer of the state where the product is manufactured if the company holds a central license, which most bigger brands do, and then they will give the company an improvement notice based on the complaint. And this FSSI is an autonomous body under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and it is established under Food Safety and Standard Act 2006. That means it is a statutory body which is consolidating statute related to food safety and regulation in India. The vision of this FSSI is to build new India by enabling citizens to have safe and nutritious food, prevent diseases, and have a happy and healthy life. Mission is to set globally benchmark standards for food, encourage and ensure the food businesses adhere to these standards, adopt good manufacturing and hygiene practices, ultimately enable citizens to access safe and right food. And these are some of the mandated functions by the FSS Act of the 2006. And these are some of the initiatives by the FSSI. For example, Eat Right India, that is a comprehensive initiative to promote safe, healthy and wholesome food. RUCO, that is repurpose used cooking oil, which is an initiative to collect and convert used cooking oil into biodiesel. FOSTAC, that is food safety training and certification, which is a program to train food handlers and improve hygiene practices. And Diet for Life, which is an awareness campaign about metabolic disorders and healthy eating. That is all from today's Analyst. Thank you for joining this session. All the very best. Keep studying.